Only time I've ever been in New York is when I was born. I've been in New York. Been to. Last time I was in New York was like 2016. And it was like in the dead of night because of some fucking overseas flight chicanery. You know? I think I've told that story on stream before, but I will retell it if anybody's interested. Sure. All right, yeah. So in 2016, my I had like a family emergency. Family member passed away. My granddad. And so we went to Morocco for his funeral. Actual victim of the American healthcare system, by the way. He like they dragged their feet on treatment. So thanks, fucking insurance system. Because of you, my granddad is not alive today. So we went to Morocco for a couple of weeks for the funeral and for some administrative stuff that you have to take care of when somebody passes away, especially when it's like in such a manner that they didn't expect to be passing away that soon because it's like they haven't been able to get their affairs in order, whatever. And then we on the flight back, like basically everything goes wrong that could possibly go wrong. This was before Morocco did direct flights to Dulles Airport, which is much closer to where we live than the other airport that they do direct flights to, which is JFK. JFK Airport in New York at the time, you had to fly there in order to fly from Morocco to the DC area. You had to get a layover in New York. And so we get to the airport. Things go like relatively smoothly up until the point that we're flying, right? Which is not a sentence you ever usually want to hear. So we're in the air, and a pilot says, okay, it looks like there are storms over New York, over JFK, right? I think we left the apartment in Morocco at like 11 in the morning that morning. And we got on the flight at like, fuck, I don't even remember what time. It was like 1 o'clock or something like that. Yeah. And then it's like a 7-hour flight across the Atlantic Ocean. So we were already in the air for 7 hours. And then because of the storms over JFK and the uncertainty and, I guess, lack of communication that the flight crew was receiving or something, we had to circle over New York for another couple hours. So that's 3 hours between leaving the house and getting on the plane, and then 7 hours. So that's already 10 hours. Now we're at 12 hours. Then we have to go and like sit on the tarmac at Boston Airport because of the storms. Like we can't get into JFK, so we have to go sit on the tarmac at Boston until the storms clear up, which is another like hour or two. Then it takes another hour for us to get back to JFK Airport, so that's like a good 3 hours extra. So now it's like 15 hours in transit, 12 of which have been just us being on the plane. And then when we're at JFK, obviously, we find out that, like, things are so, things have been so messed up in terms of the scheduling that, like, obviously our flight from New York to DC, or the DC area, rather, was canceled. And we're like, okay, well, shit. We need to go get our luggage. And we go to the luggage conveyor belt. And my dad and my sister were there with me. I think my mom had like stayed in Morocco for a little bit longer. Yeah, I think she was there for like a couple weeks after we had left. But like we were waiting for our bags. My dad and my sister's bag came out relatively early, and then no lie, we wait for like 30 fucking minutes at the luggage conveyor for all the luggage to get offloaded from the plane, and my bag was nowhere to be found. They straight up, we found this out after the fact because we had to go to we had to go to like the counter to figure out where the fuck my luggage went because my clothes and toiletries were in that bag. Like a lot of my stuff was in there. And it turns out what Royal Air Maroc did, that's the Moroccan airline, is they used to have a policy of this. I don't think they do it anymore. If a flight was like nearing or at the like weight capacity for luggage, they would just randomly select bags or just they would just take whichever bags were like over the limit or put them too close to the limit for weight, and they just chuck them on a different flight. So like people's bags would get separated. It was like a known thing that if you flew on Royal Air Maroc, you weren't guaranteed to get all your luggage back. Not immediately anyways. I did eventually get the suitcase back, but it was like another 2 weeks before that happened. So we're all tired as fuck. It's the middle of the goddamn night. And this is after like going 5 hours backwards. It's the middle of the night. So we've already, 11 o'clock a.m. to midnight is 13 hours plus 5 hours. That's a good 16 hours we've been in this fucking shitstorm. So my dad decides like, okay, we're just gonna go rent a car, and like we're yeah, the fucking airline flight from hell. My dad just decides, look, we're just gonna rent a car and straight up drive from New York back to the DC area, like right now. And so we went to do that. We went and rented a car, and we start driving, and we barely get out of view of the airport. Hello, Nancy Parker. We barely get out of view of the airport at JFK, and already we're seeing road work. And it turns out we get to a point where like traffic is really congested on like the parkway or whatever, and I think the parkway ended up being closed. Some guy like in a construction vehicle. Yes, it is story time. Fucking airline flight from hell. We've gone to the point where it's already like 2 o'clock in the morning, and guy in a construction vehicle pulls out across like all the lanes of traffic, gets out and starts talking on his phone, and then he pulls back after like 20-30 minutes of us sitting there, and there's a brand new set of traffic cones and a big detour sign. They were doing road work on the highway. So we had to go into Queens. We had to take the exit off the highway and go into Queens in the middle of the fucking night. Yeah, this is Nancy Parker. This is after we had left Morocco after a very emotionally like turbulent time, and gotten on a flight, circled around JFK for 2 hours after an already like 7-hour long flight, had to sit in Boston for an hour, go back to JFK, found out that my bag was gone because they threw it on a different flight, rented a car, and now we're at the point where we're stuck in traffic behind this big construction vehicle that's blocking all 4 lanes because they're setting up traffic cones, there's road work, and they pull back, and we're like, oh fuck, the highways, like the parkways shut down, we have to go into Queens. And it doesn't even stop there, because the guy in front of us fell asleep behind the wheel of his car, and we had to lay on the horn to get him to wake up. And so finally we get moving again. It's like 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the goddamn morning. And we're in Queens. We are in Queens. This is when we lived in the DC area, by the way. We're in Queens, and the good thing, you know, positive, I know that New York City, even when I was 15, I knew, okay, New York City is laid out on a grid. I can pull up directions. Bad news, my dad's phone is almost out of battery. So we're like, oh fuck. We have to go find, like, drive around and try to find a random traffic officer in the middle of the night that just happened to be, like, on a street corner and ask him, like, hey, we're stuck here. We need to get on the highway. Can you give us directions? and the officer's like, yeah, sure. You just, you know, you go down that way, blah, blah, blah. He gave us directions to get like on the highway. And then like, oh, okay, finally it's it's like, I think at this point it's like 3:30. We fucking get out of Queens onto the highway. And I get like the most liminal, probably worst quality, but not worst feeling actually, night of sleep of my life. And we make it back to the DC area. I might be like butchering what time these things happened because I think it was like a 4-hour drive or something. And we got back to our house at about 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, which is about the time that I would be waking up. So maybe it might have been like 2:30 when we got into Queens, and then the drive home took about like 4 hours. Or like 3.5 hours. Which means, if you go from 11 a.m. or like, yeah, you go from 11 a.m. one day to 7 a.m. the next day, that is, let's see, 24 minus 4, that's 20 hours, add 7, that is 27 straight hours of trying to get home. Yeah, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And then, like, when I was back home, the problems obviously didn't end. I was sleep deprived. I had a massive fucking headache and stomach ache for about 2 days. Thankfully, it was only 2 days because I was 15 and you can, like, jump off of a roof when you're 15 and you'll be fine the next day. And then, like, after 2 weeks, finally, they mailed my suitcase to me. And I was like, fuck, dude. All that off of the heels of my granddad dying because of the American healthcare system, or lack thereof. That is, like, the reason I can recall that with so much clarity after, like, after, fuck, that was like 9 years ago. After 9 years, the reason I can recall that with so much clarity is because so many traumatic things happened all at the fucking same time, you know? Jesus. We can expect that after this? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you thought the American health insurance system was bad before, or healthcare system rather, was bad before. It's about to get even fucking worse. How old are you now? I am 25. This happened when I was 15. About to turn 16, I think. What's up, Geodude? That story might make a good YouTube video, I'm not gonna lie. I need to share that pain with the world. What did he die of? Cancer. It was preventable too. We couldn't, we had to go out of country to get treatment. Because treatment in America was literally too expensive. It was something like $30,000 per chemo treatment. We had to go back to his home country to get treatment. And granted, treatment was cheaper there, but the quality of medical care in a third world country is not as good as the quality of medical care in the United States. There's no two ways about it. You know, there's like no way around it. So sorry to hear that as well. Well, yeah, you know, thank you. It's you know, it's been a while. So grandmother died of blood cancer. Yeah, but people just be having family that dies of cancer and shit. And it's not like cancer is extremely fucking dangerous, but it's not a sure shot that you die from it, right? If you catch cancer early, it's possible for you to get it treated, and it's possible for people to actually defeat cancer long term. I've had family members who have had cancer and overcome it. Like, you know, they may have had health complications later, but, you know, it's possible for that to be like something that you recover from. But the United States healthcare system actually exacerbates those circumstances. Percentage of surviving is a bit low. It depends. Again, it depends on which stage you catch cancer in. If you catch cancer very early, then it's possible for you to recover from it and to have like a long-term recovery, or to live a relatively stable life, medically speaking, after the fact, you know? But yeah, if you catch it, if there's if you catch it too late in the process, if it is already like metastatic, or close to metastatic, there's not a lot that you can do, and you're pretty much on a timer. The issue is the issue here, even in the United States, even if you catch it early, you're basically fucked, because it's extremely expensive to get treatment for it. I hope they got the cure soon. Getting the cure for cancer would not fix the bind that we're in, but like, yeah. In fact, there have been a number of like blip controversies that I'm sure are going to burgeon into something larger, where the medical industry in the United States has to varying degrees recognized that curing cancer is not a sustainable business model. Not my words, by the way. Their words, not mine. You can have hope for it at least. Oh yeah, for sure. You know, and that is legitimately like, even if those incentives are there, the motivation of people, of, you know, doctors, other medical practitioners and whatever, will usually, and I'd say almost always be towards like curing diseases. Curing them. Oh, really? Yeah, let me, in fact, I'll see if I can even find that, that quote. Here, hold on. Yeah, this is very infamous from 2018 from Goldman Sachs, investing like in a biotech research report. This is from a while ago, but like everybody fucking exploded at this article. Is curing patients a sustainable business model? Goldman Sachs analysts attempted to address a touchy subject for biotech companies, especially those involved in the pioneering gene therapy treatment. Cures could be bad for business in the long run. Is curing patients a sustainable business model? The potential to deliver one-shot cures is one of the most attractive aspects of gene therapy, genetically engineered cell therapy, and gene editing. However, such treatments offer a very different outlook with regard to recurring revenue versus chronic therapies. Psychotic. Actually psychotic that businesses consider this shit. While this proposition carries a tremendous value for patients and society, it could represent a challenge for genome medicine developers looking for sustained cash flow. Richter cited Gilead Sciences treatment for hepatitis C, which achieved cure rates of more than 90%. Company's U.S. sales for these hepatitis C treatments peaked at $12.5 billion in 2015, but have been falling ever since. Goldman estimates the U.S. sales for these treatments will be less than $4 billion this year, according to a table in the report. They're correct, by the way. Curing patients is bad for business. The problem is they are arguing we should stop curing patients instead of we should change how doing business works. You know? By the way, that's the logic that governs the entire medical industry and sector in the United States. Anyways, this was supposed to be like story time about the worst experience on a fucking airplane flight I've probably ever had in my life, and hopefully will ever have. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Cut the segment there, future me. Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.